All right, first off, I have to say I'm not a doctor, I am not a nutritionist, I am not even a personal trainer. I am just a very busy dad who's gotten incredibly invested in taking care of my physical health so that I can be there for my family because ultimately they are the most important thing to me in the world. And a couple of years ago, I recognized one of the best ways that I could do that was actually to get in shape. And one of the best ways that I could get in shape was probably ultimately to get into the gym. If you are thinking about getting into the gym and you're a little bit anxious about doing that, here's 10 tips that I have that might help you get that first step into the gym and relieve some of that anxiety. Tip number one is get yourself a tour. If you walk into any gym, they're more than willing to give you a tour. They're always looking for new members. You can even call up in advance usually and book a tour. That's usually not a problem at all. But get yourself a tour so you get more familiar with the gym and it eases a lot of that anxiety. Tip number two is starting at home. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can either get yourself some basic weight equipment, get yourself a bench, some dumbbells, even a chin-up bar that you hook under your door. Or you can also get yourself a program. I started off with P90X. It allows you to maybe get in a little bit better shape so you're a little bit more comfortable with moving around, you're a little bit more comfortable in your own body, but also get you more familiar with some of the movements. And that really helped me relieve some of the anxiety. Now, do you have to invest in a program? No, there are certainly lots of good free programs out there, do it at home sort of programs that you can do. Tip number three is get yourself some proper clothing. And by that, I actually mean two different things. Proper clothing can actually be going to some sort of a sports store and getting that clothing, that stuff, so you look like everybody else in the gym. I do wear a lot of Under Armour. I really like their stuff. But getting some of that proper gym clothing so that you fit in. Do you have to fit in? Certainly not. But for some people, actually for a lot of people, it helps relieve some of that anxiety. They feel a little bit more like they're a part of the place. They feel a little bit more like they fit in. What I did when I started in the gym was I actually started out wearing a lot of hoodies. Now, there are two reasons for this. One was that a lot of people wear hoodies to gyms. A lot of people still do that. And so I thought I would fit in wearing a hoodie because so many people were wearing that. But the other reason was because I was self-conscious about my body. 75 pounds ago, I was really self-conscious about my rolls. And when I wore a hoodie, that hid a lot of those rolls. Is this something that you should be self-conscious about? Certainly not. But the reality is I was, and it made me feel more comfortable knowing that I wasn't on display for everybody to see. So if you're self-conscious about your weight, a hoodie is a wonderful thing to wear when you're in the gym. Tip number 4 is start with a little bit of cardio. That is the first thing that I did when I went into the gym the first month or two that I started there. And this was for a couple of reasons. One was that you certainly don't look at a place. Anybody can go into a gym, get on a treadmill, get on an elliptical. You don't have to be going super hard. A lot of people there, even a lot of the super fit people, are there just doing a warm-up or a cool down or just getting a little bit of moderate cardio in. So you really, really don't look at a place going in and doing some cardio. And also in my gym and in a lot of gyms, the cardio machines, all of that stuff is at the back. And that gave me a chance to kind of, as I'm doing my thing, I've got my headphones in. I started off with just 20 minutes and then moved to half an hour and 45 minutes and then eventually an hour. But I was looking around the gym. I was kind of witnessing what was going on. And that just made me so much more comfortable once I got off the cardio machines and actually stepped foot into the weight room. Tip number 5 is find out when those peak hours are. Now, you can do this in a couple of ways. Certainly, depending upon the gym, almost every single one of them is going to be able to tell you that if you give them a call or when you show up for that tour that you're all going to go on. They'll be able to tell you when the peak hours are. Some of them are pretty obvious in the morning before work, right after work, even at lunch in a lot of cases. But really getting to know when the peak hours are at your particular gym where you plan on going can really help you kind of make sure you're there when there's not so many extra people around. That is one of the other things that I did. I actually started out going towards the end of the day. It really fit my schedule well, which obviously has to be part of that. But also it just made things a whole lot easier when it wasn't a super crowded space and people weren't waiting for whatever I was on. And I wasn't waiting for other people to get off something that I wanted to be on. So find out when the peak hours are and go in those off hours. And tip number 6 is kind of like tip number 5 in terms of time, but give yourself enough time. Again, I understand we're all busy. We have busy schedules, and you got to find a way to make sure that you can fit it into your daily schedule, and that can be difficult. Maybe you don't have an hour and a half to get a proper warm up and cool down, but make sure you give yourself enough time. This is still something that I struggle with today. There is an increased level of anxiety when you know, even if you know exactly what you're going to be doing in the gym, that you know you have a limited amount of time, you know that if you want to do A, B, and C, that those machines or those weights need to be available, and if they're not available, what do you do and how do you make those adjustments? These are a lot of things you don't want to deal with, especially when you're starting out at the gym, so try to make sure to give yourself enough time, because when you walk into the gym, let's say there's an area of the gym, you're building up some confidence, you're looking at the weights, but there's these really, really fit, bulky guys around the weights, and you just want to wait. You just want to give it a few minutes, maybe go do a little bit of extra stretching. You can do that if you give yourself enough time. I know that's not a reasonable request for everybody, but if you can find a way, give yourself some time. Tip number 7 is start off by using some machines. Now, obviously, start off when you're starting in the gym. I mentioned earlier that I think doing some cardio is one of the best ways to get yourself more comfortable in the gym. But even when you move over to doing some weights, using machines is a great thing. First of all, everybody uses them. So whether you're new or you've been there for a long time, machines are used by everybody, so you don't seem out of place at all doing that. Second of all, you really have a much better chance of doing things correctly because the machines have a motion that they're going to go in. And if you're doing a bench press on a machine or any sort of a press, even a pull, anything that you're doing them on a machine kind of gives you proper form even without you knowing what you're doing. So starting on a machine, and it can help you learn what that proper form is so that when you move over to free weights, if you ever do move over to free weights, you can do that. And third, it decreases the chance for injury. And this doesn't even just apply for people that are just starting out. This past summer, I actually dislocated my left shoulder, and it wasn't in the gym, but I dislocated my left shoulder. And when I got back to doing workouts here in the fall, and I started doing some shoulder work, I did a lot of stuff on machines. I didn't leave it to free weights at the time. I'm just actually now starting to ease back into using some of the free weights for that, but it really, really decreased the chance of injury. And the last thing I want to say about using machines is, and you don't have to be self-conscious about how much you're lifting, and you shouldn't be self-conscious about how much you're lifting. Screw all those other people. Lift whatever you can lift and only worry about yourself. Don't ego lift, all that other stuff. That's definitely for another video. But if you're doing a machine and you're just moving the pin around, other people aren't seeing that. They're certainly not noticing it as much. If you're out there on the free weights and you're using a barbell, and let's say you're doing a squat, something like that, putting those plates on, people see that. And probably the 1 in a billion people that are going to be judgmental can see exactly the amount of weight you're putting on. And so you're a little bit more out there, and in your own mind, you kind of can get a little bit more self-conscious that people are able to see exactly how much you're lifting. So those 4 things are why I would probably start on machines if I were new to the gym, and why sometimes I go back to them now if I want to work on some smaller body parts that I really think need some work that I'm not really sure on. I do go back and I get on the machines. Tip number 8 is ask questions. Be sure to ask questions of anybody. It doesn't just have to be somebody that works there. Certainly somebody that works there. Obviously, if you sign up for some sort of personal training, you could ask them all sorts of questions about what you're doing in your form. But anybody in the gym, most people are willing to answer those questions for you. If you have questions about your form, have some questions about how to do a certain exercise, you're looking at a machine, you're a little bit confused on what to do, lots of people are more than willing and more than happy to give you information, share with you whatever information they might have. Now, don't stop somebody mid-set, in the middle of their set. That's going to upset a lot of people, but ask people questions. They're there to help, and most people want to do that. The other side to it is that most people are not just going to offer up an answer. I know if I see somebody doing something they shouldn't be doing, or doing something maybe that is pretty incorrect, unless it's really, really bad, I usually just leave them to their own devices. And if they want my help, they're going to come ask for it, and you just let them be them. I don't want to be that guy to say, you're doing that wrong. Tip number 9 is Google is your friend. Now, this happens in a couple of different ways. First of all, if you're new to the gym and you're not really sure what to do and you want to start some sort of workout program, there are a ton of programs online. You can choose to pay a fee for some of these if you really feel like you need to do that. If you want to be more confident in the program, maybe you can buy into a number of programs, get a subscription to something like bodybuilding.com. Or there are plenty of free programs out there. Again, lots of people are there to offer up information. So there's a lot of really, really good information. You can also look up different exercises. This is something that you'll probably go back to even if you've been in the gym and you've been there for a number of years, is that if you're thinking maybe you need to tweak something and you're not quite sure, I find myself going back to Google even now. The other day I was doing squats and I was wondering about foot placement and just how wide my feet should be to target my hamstrings a little bit more. And so I went back and I Googled that. So Google is your friend. Make sure you use it. And the last tip I have, and certainly probably at the end of the day, the most important tip, is don't worry about what other people think. I know that one is really difficult and probably goes against a lot of what I'm saying in this video in terms of building up your confidence and probably having a lot of anxiety going into the gym in the first place. But don't worry about what other people think. Remember that everybody knows that they started somewheres. Remember that everybody is there trying to take care of their own fitness. 98% of people that are there are focused more about getting in, getting their workout done, and getting out and enjoying the rest of their day. There may be the very, very odd person, and this is a very small percentage of people that are actually there and that are actually judging the other people. A, they're a waste of time. Don't worry about them in the first place. And B, honestly, those people probably not paying attention to you because those are the exact same people that are paying 100% attention to themselves. So there you have it. Those are just 10 quick tips that I wish somebody had offered up to me when I started out at the gym a couple of years ago, or at least when I was thinking about starting out at the gym a couple of years ago. If you like this video, please remember to hit that like button. If you want to see more of my videos, please remember to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification so you get notified every time I put out a new video. And I've said it in plenty of videos in the past. This channel is called What Matters to Matt, and ultimately what matters to me most is my family, and I will see you in the next one.